Hey guys, today I just wanted to share with you some tips I had for occupational therapy admissions, specifically regarding prerequisites. Now, tip one is pretty obvious. It's just to know what your prerequisites are. So if you haven't selected what schools you're thinking about applying to, that's a smart thing to do. You can watch my videos up talking about how to select an occupational therapy program to help you with that. But basically, you need to know what schools you're going to so that you know what occupational therapy prerequisites you need and can go ahead and complete those. Tip number two is to make sure that if you have taken any prerequisites that they are current. Some schools are going to have a timeline that you have to have taken the class within the last 5 years or 10 years or something like that. And you want to make sure that you have taken any prerequisites that you've already taken within that time limit. The next thing you want to do is try and get the best grades you can in your prerequisites. So really that means that if at all possible you want to try and get A's in all your prerequisites. If you can't and you have to settle for B's, that's fine, but you really don't want to have any C's or anything like that because it's so competitive to get into OT school and you really don't want to kind of lower your possible chances of getting into schools. The next thing I would recommend is to make sure that if at all possible you can have all your prerequisites completed prior to applying to occupational therapy school. I just think that it makes your application stronger because they know how you performed in the various classes and therefore can determine better how you perform in a graduate program. I think that for me personally, when I went into applying to schools, because I had all my prerequisites completed, I really do think it helped my chances of admissions into various programs. If you do have to have any prerequisites in progress, I think it's important to try and not have the really difficult prerequisites like anatomy and physiology in progress because those are prerequisites they do look at heavily, and so you'd rather have those completed. It's better to have something like medical terminology or something not as important as an in-progress prerequisite just so that your application is stronger and they can judge based on what you've completed already how good of a candidate you are. I kind of touched on this one already before, but if you have any low grades in prerequisites and you have the time to retake them, it is best to retake them so that you can have a stronger application and can be more competitive. I know I mentioned earlier that I think that you should try your hardest to complete your prerequisites before you apply. I really do think this gives you a stronger application because admissions committees can see how well you perform in all your courses across the board. Now, sometimes this seems really difficult to do and you might not have as much time, so a couple things that you might want to look into if you feel like you're not going to be able to get your prerequisites done in time are the first one that I would suggest is looking into online classes. Some of the psychology classes and medical terminology can be taken in online format at various colleges. Sometimes this can even be like a short-term online class. So I know that I took at least one of my psychology classes in a short-term online class, so it was only like a 6 or an 8-week class, and I was able to just knock that prerequisite out and be done with it. And so definitely that's something you want to look into. Another thing that I was able to look into is that I have 2 community colleges that aren't that far away from me. So I have one that's probably about 20 minutes away and one that's maybe an hour away. And I was able to kind of compare the various classes and see is it smarter for me to take the class at the further college or the closer college. Now the reason behind this is because for the college that was further away from me, I was able to take anatomy and physiology at the same time. Now this is an entire semester difference if you can take them at the same time, so that definitely can shorten your timeline. I actually didn't end up doing that. I ended up taking physiology over the summer in a really short condensed class, but I had the opportunity to, and that can definitely shorten your timeline. Now that's going to be really difficult, so of course proceed with caution if you decide to do that, but it is nice to be able to kind of shorten how long it takes you to get your prerequisites, so look into that. You might be able to do that with like biology or chemistry or any of those prerequisites to your prerequisites to shorten your timeline. Another thing to look at, and that I was able to look at is because I had the 2 colleges, was what prerequisites there were for some of my classes. So for example, at one of my colleges, in order to take physiology, I had to have completed chemistry. At the other college, I did not have to have completed chemistry. So just not having that additional prerequisite of chemistry in order to take physiology cut out an entire semester of preparation for occupational therapy school. So especially if you have different community colleges in the area, even if you have to commute a little bit, I think it's really beneficial to you to look and see if you can kind of shop around at which community colleges you should take your classes at, so you can shorten your timeline and get done with all your prerequisites prior to completing your applications or beginning your applications. So those are all the tips I have for you. I'll be coming up with different tips. This was just a video specifically about prerequisites. I hope that at least one of these tips was helpful to you. Have a great day. Bye.